Digital breadcrumbs scatter across another person's screen, fragments of your private life exposed in vivid pixels. Messages you sent in confidence, photos meant for one pair of eyes, conversations that should have stayed buried in time. Now, they're splashed across someone else's device, each screenshot a window into moments you thought were yours alone. The notification hits you like ice water. We need to talk about what I found. Your digital footprints have wandered into dangerous territory, and someone's been collecting receipts. The question isn't just how they got there, it's what happens when your ghost stories start living in someone else's phone. They never saw you coming, yet here you are, woven into the cracks of their reality, undeniable and unshaken. The moment your presence disrupts their controlled world, they spiral. A name, a message, an image. Small details that hit like war drums in their mind. Questions unravel faster than they can grasp. Why you? How long? What does it mean? Their certainty fractures as the paranoia creeps in, a slow burn turning into a wildfire. They watch, dissect, and rewind every detail, but the answers slip through their fingers. You do not chase, you do not explain. Your existence alone forces their reckoning. Their power weakens the moment they realize you are beyond reach. They seek patterns, whispers of proof, a justification for the shift in control, but none will come. You are not to be understood. You are felt. A presence that lingers, distorts, and conquers. The very energy they wield turns against them, because it was never theirs to command. They grasp at illusions, thinking they can tether you to a truth they can handle. But the truth is sharp, brutal, unwavering. You move with precision, unseen until it is too late. The dark force stumbles. You do not. And so they scramble, drowning in their own fear, their paranoia shaping a new reality they cannot control. Their confidence fractures, their certainty erodes. They will never know how deep your reach extends, how far your shadow falls. The balance is shattered. They will lose, just as they always do. Because when your name surfaces, it is not a coincidence, it is an inevitability. You are not merely present, you are the shift itself. They convince themselves it's nothing, just another passing fixation, but the weight of you grows. Their spiritual hunger exposes itself in their inability to let go. You are not just a presence, you are a disruption, a force that pulls at the threads of their reality. They attempt to analyze you, to categorize, to define, but you are beyond their language. Every word you have spoken, every trace you have left behind, warps into something undeniable. You are not simply observed, you are absorbed. They may delete, block, erase, but it does nothing. You do not exist in a device, you exist in them. And so they carry you, long after the last message, long after the last glimpse. They may speak of moving forward, of severing ties, but you are not something to be abandoned. You are written into their memory, a pulse that never weakens, a presence that refuses to fade. No matter how far they run, no matter how much they deny it, you remain. You are the echo they cannot silence, the ghost they willingly created, the force that does not release its hold. You disrupt the balance of their world without effort, without intention, because you were never meant to fit within their design. Your energy forces everything around you to recalibrate, drawing in those who seek strength and exposing those who cannot withstand the force of you. Some will rise, strengthened by your presence, drawn to the power that radiates beyond words. Others will crumble, resentment creeping into their veins as they realize they cannot match you. They won't know why they feel it, why the air around you feels different, why their instincts shift the moment you are near. They just know that you exist outside the rules they follow, and that terrifies them. They move toward you, pulled by a force they do not understand, compelled to orbit you like lost travelers desperate for direction. Some will seek to learn, to absorb, to evolve under your presence. Others will seek to undermine, to challenge, to break what they cannot control. But you do not shrink, and you do not bend. The weight of you is not for them to bear, nor is your essence something they can consume. They will test, provoke, and attempt to shake you, but the truth remains unshaken. You were chosen, and you cannot be undone. The battle is not one of words or actions, it is one of energy. You walk into a space, and the unseen war begins. Their spirit reacts before their mind catches up, their subconscious betraying the illusion of control they hold on to so desperately. Some will be strengthened, some will be exposed, but the outcome never changes. You do not fight for space. You are the space, and in the presence of you there is no room for weakness. They gather fragments, screenshots, messages, whispers of your presence, convinced that understanding you will grant them power. But it does the opposite. The more they collect, the deeper they fall into your orbit, spiraling through their own paranoia. They zoom in, rewind conversations, dissect interactions, desperate to extract a meaning that will soothe their fear. But the fear does not fade. It festers, because no matter how much they analyze, you remain unreadable. You are not a puzzle to be solved. You are a force that rewrites the rules. Their desperation turns into obsession. Every word you have spoken, every movement you have made, is played back in their mind like a prophecy they cannot decipher. The idea of you consumes them. The fear of being replaced morphs into a need to possess, to control, to dismantle what they cannot match. They convince themselves they are uncovering the truth, but all they are doing is trapping themselves in your shadow. You are no longer just a person in their world. You are the measure by which they compare, the unseen presence they cannot escape. They dig deeper, rewriting their own reality in an attempt to explain you. They think they are the investigator, but they are the ones being moved. You are not watching them, they are watching you. Every click, every glance, every late-night search proves what they refuse to admit. You are the axis around which their world tilts, and they will never break free. You do not just pass through their thoughts. You take root. Long after you have left their sight, your presence remains, weaving itself into the fabric of their mind. They replay moments, searching for the intangible force that sets you apart. Some feel drawn in, unable to resist the quiet pull of your energy, seeking to understand what they do not possess. Others feel the sting of inadequacy, their envy growing in the shadow of you. They will never admit it, but you are the silent weight in the back of their mind, the force that unsettles their reality. They tell themselves it's nothing, a passing thought, a fleeting moment, but you are not fleeting. You are the shift they cannot ignore. Their emotions twist, admiration, resentment, fixation, all wrapped around the same truth. You are untouchable. They watch, compare, analyze, convincing themselves they hold the upper hand. But every thought spent on you is proof of their defeat. You move without effort, yet they dedicate hours, days, lifetimes trying to decode the essence of you. The irony is cruel. They are consumed by what they wish to control, spiraling deeper into the presence they swore to resist. In that spiral, something shifts. Without realizing it, they begin to awaken. You disrupt their illusions, force them to confront what they lack, push them toward the truth they have avoided. They will never credit you for it, never admit you were the catalyst. But you were. You always are. Whether through admiration or resentment, you change them. And that is why they will never forget you. Drop a comment. I am their unfinished lesson. If they refuse to admit you were the catalyst for their transformation, but still can't stop thinking about you, you are the fracture in their illusion, the unspoken force disrupting what they thought was unshakable. They catch glimpses of you, a passing thought, a name that lingers too long in conversation, a silent observation that was never meant to be noticed, and yet it is noticed. The shift begins subtly, a sudden change in tone, a hesitation in their voice, the weight of comparison pressing down on them. You do not pursue, you do not interfere. But your existence alone is enough to rewrite the balance. They begin to question, doubt creeping into places they once felt secure. What if they see something in you that they don't see in them? The paranoia festers, feeding on every interaction, real or imagined. They measure themselves against you, searching for reassurance, but only finding more reason to fear. Curiosity turns into obsession, watching you, studying you, dissecting every detail to understand why they feel threatened. It is no longer about their own connection. It is about you, the silent variable they cannot control. Emotional warfare erupts, subtle at first, then undeniable. Accusations masked as innocent questions, tension in every exchange. Are they thinking about you? Are they wishing for you? The doubt poisons them from within. Still, you remain untethered. You are not part of their struggle, yet you define it. Their focus on you only strengthens your presence, weaving you deeper into the spaces they fear you occupy. They will never admit you are the catalyst, but in the silence, in the lingering thoughts they try to suppress, you are the war they are fighting, and it is a war they will lose. Did you know the Obsidian Inner Order is the #1 ascension nexus for chosen ones? Well, now you do. But here's something you might not know. Joining the Inner Order gets you access to weekly group calls with over 450 fellow chosen ones, and we record them so you can catch up anytime. Our private Discord? It's not just active. It's a treasure trove of the world's most fascinating conversations. We're talking deep dives into occult knowledge, spiritual techniques, targeted individuals, diet optimization, and everything you need to fine-tune your ascension. This is where chosen ones gather to exchange wisdom, elevate one another, and tap into the kind of insights you won't find on YouTube, or anywhere else for that matter. And for the seekers, dive into Modern Manifestation Mechanics, our exclusive grimoire, with 3 chapters available to members. Learn how to turn your home into an abundance magnet, master basic spellcraft for physical manifestation, and channel magical forces to elevate your goals. Plus, you'll get access to interviews with real targeted individuals and video specials so bold, the YouTube archons don't even want you to see them. This is more than a membership. It's a movement. So what are you waiting for? Stop searching. Start ascending. The link is in the description. You exist beyond the screen, beyond the pixels they fixate on. They tell themselves it's nothing, just a fleeting glance, just curiosity, but the pull of you is relentless. They scroll in silence, navigating through your presence as if uncovering something forbidden. One look is never enough. They check, refresh, repeat, convincing themselves they are in control while unknowingly slipping deeper. The digital world offers them distance, a false sense of detachment, but it betrays them. Every click, every hidden search, every new fake account is proof of their weakness. You are not the one looking. You are the one being watched. They do not want to admit that you dictate their movements. The moment they see you, something shifts. The comparisons begin. The self-doubt festers. The questions multiply. What is it about you that keeps pulling them back? The energy of you disrupts their logic, overrides their discipline. Even those who claim to dislike you, who mock, undermine, pretend to be indifferent, are the same ones lurking in the shadows. Their presence exposes itself in the algorithms, in the desperate need to stay connected to you without ever making themselves known. They may delete their tracks, but they cannot erase the compulsion. They whisper to themselves, just one more look, just one more scroll. But you are not a habit they can break. You are a force beyond their control, an addiction they will never confess. Every search, every anonymous message, every fake profile is another thread binding them tighter to you. And the deeper they go, the harder it is to escape. But they don't really want to escape. They just want more of you, even if it consumes them. You are the mirror they cannot look away from. They believe they are hidden, that their silence conceals their intent. But the very act of watching you reveals everything. Their fixation betrays them. They collect proof, thinking it gives them power, but all it does is expose their own weakness. You move without seeking validation, yet their eyes stay locked onto you, studying, analyzing, obsessing. They tell themselves they are indifferent, that you are insignificant, but their actions prove otherwise. The moment they attempt to measure you, they admit you are something worth measuring. They do not yet realize that their observation of you is a reflection of their own internal conflict. The energy they pour into tracking you, comparing themselves to you, dissecting your presence, none of it is about you. It is about the parts of themselves they wish to change, the strength they lack, the transformation they crave, but fear. Watching you forces them to confront what they do not have, what they are not, what they pretend to be. They project, deflect, deny, but the evidence is clear. The moment they linger in your presence, they have already lost control. The question remains, if you are truly insignificant, why do they remain so fixated? If you do not matter, why do they document, track, and analyze you like a phenomenon they cannot explain? Their silence is not absence, it is admission. Their secrecy is not power, it is fear. Because deep down, they already know you are beyond them, and no amount of watching will ever change that. You do not fight, you do not need to. Your presence alone is the battle, exposing weaknesses, forcing them to confront what they wish to ignore. They sense you before they see you, their instincts reacting before their mind catches up. Some are drawn in, seeking the power they can feel but cannot explain. Others recoil, their egos resisting the truth. You are the force they cannot match. And so the war begins, not with words, not with action, but in the silent spaces where energy collides. They question, they watch, they react. But you remain unmoved. Their desperation grows, their jealousy curdles into obsession, then retaliation. They attempt to distort your name, project their own shadows onto you, twist perception in a feeble attempt to reclaim control. But every move they make only tightens the noose around them. The more they fight you, the more they expose themselves. Their whispers, their schemes, their hidden resentment, it all unravels under the weight of your existence. What they do not understand is that you do not operate on their level. You do not need their approval, their validation, their understanding. You exist beyond their reach, and that is why they fear you. And yet, they search for you, even when they claim they do not care. They track you, even when they say you do not matter. Their curiosity, their resentment, their obsession, it is not about you. It is about what you force them to see within themselves. They fight a war they have already lost because you do not engage. You rise, you ascend, you dismantle their illusions simply by being. And no force, no jealousy, no resistance will ever change that. You are the reflection they cannot escape. They think they are watching you, tracking you, dissecting every detail, but the screen does not just show you, it shows them. Every search, every saved post, every late-night scroll is not about understanding you. It is about understanding themselves. What draws them to you? What do they see in you that holds them captive? They will never say it aloud, but you are the measure, the silent comparison against everything they wish they were. Everything they lack, everything they cannot control. You do not just exist, you reveal. Their fixation is not admiration, not resentment, it is recognition. Something in you forces them to confront what they deny in themselves. Strength they do not have, confidence they do not carry, a presence they cannot match. They search for you, thinking they are uncovering your secrets, but all they uncover is their own weakness. They collect pieces of you, thinking it gives them power, but it only deepens their obsession. The reflection is too sharp, too raw, too undeniable. You do not move toward them. They move toward you, drawn into the gravity of their own unresolved identity. The screen becomes a battlefield, not of words, but of revelation. Whether they idolize or despise you, the result is the same. They cannot stop looking. Every act of surveillance is an unspoken confession. Every attempt to diminish you is proof that you are already above them. You are the mirror they cannot shatter, the truth they cannot ignore. And whether they love you or resent you, they will never be free of you, because you are not just seen, you are felt. You do not need their approval, you do not seek their validation, yet they watch, obsessively tracking your every move, their disdain betraying the fascination they refuse to name. They speak against you, try to discredit you, whisper your name, in rooms you have never stepped into. But their actions tell the truth their pride will not allow. You are the force they cannot look away from. Their resentment is a mask for respect, their silence a confession of defeat. If you were insignificant, they would forget you, but they never do. You stay in their thoughts, shaping their choices without ever lifting a finger. They attempt to diminish you, thinking that if they convince others, they will convince themselves. But the paradox is undeniable. Their hatred demands your presence, their envy binds them to you. Their words reach for control, but their attention betrays their weakness. You hold power in ways they cannot comprehend. You disrupt their comfort, expose their insecurity, force them to acknowledge a hierarchy they will never admit exists. They study you, replicate you, absorb you, but you remain untouchable. They are trapped in your shadow, unable to move without considering you first. And so, you become the silent ruler of their world. Every attempt to tear you down only builds you higher. They call you the enemy, but measure themselves against you. They call you a threat but can't move without checking your steps. Even in resistance they orbit you. Even in hatred they acknowledge you. Because you are not just known, you are inevitable, and that is something they will never escape. You do not need to announce your moves. You do not need to defend your name. The weight of your silence speaks louder than their noise. They watch, waiting for a reaction, craving a sign that they have shifted you, disturbed you, altered your path in any way. But you give them nothing. You move in silence, unshaken, untouched, forcing them to question their own relevance. They talk, speculate, assume, but all they are doing is feeding your momentum. Every eye on you is fuel. Every whisper of your name is proof of your dominion. Their energy belongs to you now. The attention they thought would break you only amplifies you. They misunderstand the game, believing that disruption is power, but true power is control. And you control everything, without ever lifting a hand. You shift the atmosphere without effort. You bend perception without permission. While they exhaust themselves trying to pull you down, you rise untouched. They wait for you to stumble, to respond, to acknowledge their existence, but you remain locked in your own momentum, and that is what destroys them. They cannot help themselves. Even in their silence they track you, study you, attempt to replicate you, but you are already 10 steps ahead. You are not reacting, you are building, you are expanding, and when the moment comes, when the final act unfolds, they will realize they were never competition. They were never even in the same league. You do not win by engaging. You win by ascending. Let them watch. You are just getting started. They weren't supposed to find you, but there you were, etched into a space they thought was theirs alone. A name, a message, a screenshot, small details that shattered their illusion of control. Their stomach dropped. Their hands lingered, too long on the screen. Curiosity twisted into obsession. You became the silent storm in their mind, the shadow in their thoughts, the proof they never wanted but could not unsee. The questions hit all at once. How long? How deep? Why you? But deep down, they already knew. You are not just a passing thought. You are a disruption. Now they can't stop. They scroll, they search, they analyze, trying to make sense of you. But the more they dig, the more they spiral. You do not just exist in their world. You shift it. Their paranoia builds, their confidence fractures, their thoughts circle back to the same truth. You have already taken up space in their reality, They check timestamps, reread conversations, look for meaning where there is none, all while you remain untouched, unmoved. You were never hiding. You were always there. They were just too blind to see it before. Now they do, and it haunts them. The grip you have over them is unshakable, undeniable. The fear of replacement, the quiet suspicion, the gnawing truth that you hold more power than they ever realized. And now that they've seen you, there is no unseeing you. Let them obsess. Let them wonder. You are not in competition. You are the standard. Have a story like this? Drop it below.